All right, just so you guys know, we are recording this just to share with a few people who are working tonight or who were unable to be here with us. So that is why it's recording. If you're like, oh my gosh, it's recording me, what is happening? So that is happening. All right, I think we are going to go ahead and get started, and we'll just keep admitting people as they come in. Okay, and if this looks weird, I'm sorry, I have this up on my computer and also my phone, so if it looks like I'm not looking at you, that is why. But thank you guys so much for coming. Welcome. We are so glad that you guys are joining us for the Zoom call tonight to learn more about My Village Ministries. It just means so much to us that you would take time out of your busy schedules and life and all of that to come just hang out with us for like 40 minutes, because that's what we get with the free Zoom, 40 minutes. So that's how long we'll be here. Okay, so really quick, we are going to share with you what MVM does if you have not heard us talk about it before. And then I'm going to ask each of our staff members to share kind of why they got involved with the ministry and what their role is. And then we want to share some ways with you guys that you can support us if you feel called to, and just open up. If anyone has any questions, we're more than happy to answer those. But if at any time throughout the call you have questions, feel free to put those in like the little chat feature, and we will try to respond to those as we go as well. Okay, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to pray here for us really quick, because that's just important to us, and then we'll get rolling. Okay, dear Jesus, thank you so much for this opportunity, for the people that you've brought here tonight. We are just so grateful for who you are. None of this would be possible apart from you. And Lord, we know that you are moving here in Richland County and in so many other counties. And God, we just thank you for the ministry of my village and everything it does. God, I just pray that you would be with us tonight, and that everything on this call would just glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay, so the story of My Village Ministries. So this began as an answer to prayer for our church, Heart City. We were intentionally praying about what ministry we wanted our new church plant to invest in. And we were so set that we were not going to move and say yes to anything until God said, like, this is the right thing. And so we got connected in this process while we were praying. We got connected with an organization which became My Village Ministries, who was already serving and working in their local community. Actually, as it turns out, their director told me, so I called him just to kind of ask some questions about this ministry and what they were doing. And he told me that they had literally just returned from their yearly staff retreat, where they had asked the Lord to open some doors to start a brand new chapter of My Village Ministries. And he apologized to me on the phone for being so forward. But he told me, like, I think that this is God answering that prayer for us, and how cool that happened so quickly. And I told him that likewise, he was an answer to our prayer. And so since then, we've spent several months planning and preparing to take on this task of opening a new nonprofit organization, which is a lot. And it is the Mansfield chapter of MVM. You'll hear us refer to it as My Village Ministries or MVM. Same thing, just different ways to say it. So let me share a little bit about what the organization does and why we exist, because I think this will be helpful, especially to you guys if you haven't heard much about it. So this ministry was born out of seeing the gaps in the child welfare and foster care system. Some of you I know have experienced this firsthand, but if you don't know, many kids get placed in care for avoidable reasons. And here's what I mean by avoidable reasons. Foster care is important and super necessary to protect our kids from neglect and abuse, right? However, what we also see is that there's a lot of placements that could have been prevented if the family had received the proper support. It's a lot of work to raise kids. Can I get an amen? It's a lot of work to raise kids. And many of us were fortunate enough to have a family that taught us how to be good parents and where to go when we needed help. And a lot of us still have that support system that is in place for us right now. If we were to find ourselves in crisis, right? We could go to them and say, hey, I need help. And they would be ready um, to help us. And for many of these parents whose kids end up in care, that's not the case for them. They have no one that they can turn to. Once a child ends up in care, it can actually be really, really difficult to get the kids back out of care. Just problems with the system, I guess. But some examples of situations where foster care could have been avoided is something like a hospitalization. So if a single parent has to go to the hospital because maybe a mom is giving birth, or maybe she is having surgery or something like that, and she has no one to take care of her kids or watch her kids, the hospital has to call child welfare, and those kids will be picked up and placed into foster care simply because she didn't have someone to watch her kids while she was getting life-saving treatment. Another example might be a single parent who is working multiple jobs just to make ends meet, and they don't have any daycare options, or they can't afford that. And then neglect happens because they can't be at work and watching their kids, but they can't pay for their kids if they're not at work. Some other examples might be a drug rehab program, like if a parent has to go to rehab, but what happens to their kids? They don't have anyone to watch them, temporary homelessness, etc. So those are just some reasons that it's not a bad parent, right? Or it's not someone who doesn't love their child, but they just don't have the tools or the support or the options that they need. So that's where My Village Ministries comes in. We believe in family preservation through biblical hospitality. What does that mean? So we believe that with the proper support, many families can stay together, which we know provides the absolute best outcomes for our kiddos long term. We also believe that the church can and should be the one stepping up to fill this gap in the system. Who knows better than the church how to love well? Who's more willing to serve? Who is called to care for the outcasts and the underprivileged? It's the church. We have the community that these families, that these parents really so desperately need. MVM provides short-term hostings for families in crisis that find themselves in the situations like the ones that I was previously talking about. And when they come in for their short-term hosting, here's the difference. The parents never lose custody of their kids like they would in foster care. They voluntarily place their kids in care after hearing about our services through maybe a social service agency, a hospital, something like that. And while their kids are hosted, they are assisted in working through their current crisis, whatever it is, might be rehab or, a medical stay or something like that, homelessness. They'll be paired with a community coach from My Village Ministries that will help them navigate their situation and be a liaison between them and their child's host family. A unique part of MVM is that relationship between the referring parent and the host family is not only allowed, but it's actually encouraged. The goal is that by the end of the hosting, the entire family has experienced the love of Jesus, built relationships with host family and their church, and the referring parent has a stabilized situation to bring their child back into. Our goal is to work with our local child welfare systems to support the families in our communities. The system is super overrun already, like even just looking at our statistics here in Richland County, and I know it's very similar in other counties, but any support that we can give to families to prevent the need for foster care in the first place is going to have a really large impact on the people around us. There's a chapter, actually, like I said, already doing this in Columbus. They've been operating for 5 years, and they are seeing so much success of kids being able to stay with their families and not coming back into care afterwards, which happens a lot in foster care. Even when kids can be reunited with their families, a very, very high percentage of them end up back in foster care because of the lack of support. So that chapter, Columbus, is helping plant a second chapter of My Village Ministries here in Richland County, and that's us. We are so excited to be doing this. I can't wait for you to hear from the other people tonight. But just an update. So where are we now? We are just weeks away from fully launching our chapter and hosting kiddos, which is awesome because we've been working for months on the behind the scenes stuff. But at every turn, it has seemed impossible. But we know that with God, all things are possible. And He has shown up every single time to fill in the gaps. one roadblock we had actually was finding a team of people who are willing to dedicate so many hours to this work on top of their other responsibilities, their other jobs. But sure enough, the Lord showed up and he built us an incredible, incredible team. And I want you to hear from each of them now. They are going to share with you who they are, what their role is in MVM, and what drew them to My Village, kind of like what it means to them. So Kenzie is, she's up first. So she is going to come share with us now.
Hey guys. First off, thank you guys so much for joining the Zoom call and just hearing our hearts. God has been so, so good through all of this. And I'm so excited, one, for you guys to hear how good he is, but two, also how good he's going to be through this ministry too. So I am Kenzie. I am the Director of Administration and the Community Coach Supervisor. So I will be working a lot with the community coaches who will then be working with both the host families and the referring parent. So I will be coordinating all of that. To talk about my call to this ministry, it would take a lot longer than this free Zoom call would allow. So I do want to say how good God has been through all of this, and he's been so faithful to me. Specifically, Jake and I, my husband, moved here to Mansfield back in September, and we felt a call to be here with Heart City Church. To be totally honest with you, wasn't sure why, other than the fact that we love this church, we love the people there. But past that, I wasn't quite sure what the call was. I was at that same time of moving, I was at a very devastating spot in my job. And so I was feeling very hopeless. So I was just praying so, so hard to God, asking for strength and direction, and just straight up asking him why we were here. And what was really cool is a week after we moved, we actually hung out with the Boers, and Maddie was telling me about a new ministry that Heart City was going to be launching called My Village Ministries. And it was a preventative foster care program based off of resurrecting biblical hospitality. And that was something that I had never heard of before. And so it was so cool to hear that concept, and that this is like something that the church has always been called to, and this is something that this ministry will be doing. And just hearing her talk about it, that was something that I felt a call in my heart that night about. And also just like through my experience, through my degree in psychology, but also with experiences in my family, I have seen the extent of trauma in children. And so just seeing how cool it is that MVM, we're going to be working with the children, we're going to be working with the parents, the families, and we're walking alongside of them. We're not taking the place of them or anything. We are helping the children, and we're walking alongside the family, giving them tools for success and connecting them with a community that loves them, is going to support them from here on out, long past their time with My Village Ministries. And I just think that is such a great call and such a great way for us to shine his light and shine his love to those around us in our community, and resurrect our call as the church to help the orphan and help the widow. And so that is something that was laid on my heart that night when we were talking about My Village and what this ministry means. And that is something that's so cool to me. And I don't think I have words for what this ministry opportunity has like given me hope wise. This is definitely something that I am so excited and so honored, truly honored to be called to be a part of this team and a part of this ministry, that this is something that God has planned for all of us and for Richland County. And so I'm very excited to see what God is going to do. He has already helped all of us grow, all of our team grow, and I'm so excited to see what he has to come this year too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kenz. We are so grateful to have you and your skills and just your heart on this team. Yeah, we're so thankful. So, okay, I'm actually going to go next. So my name is Maddie Boer. I guess I didn't say that at the beginning, but I'm the executive director of the Mansfield chapter of My Village Ministries. And it is such a privilege to be able to cast vision for and with my team, to lead staff meetings, organize trainings, all kinds of stuff like that. It is a good time. But foster care and child welfare is very close to my heart, obviously, as we have firsthand seen the impact of kids being separated. If there's anyone on here who doesn't know, my husband and I, also Jake, but a different Jake, adopted 3 kiddos out of foster care. And so this is very close to our hearts, but we've firsthand seen the impact of kids being separated from their birth parents. I think it's easy to think that we are saving kids from hard and ugly situations, but the reality is children will always have a desire to be with their first family and to know them and to love them regardless of the circumstances. And I think that was just a really big learning opportunity for us. But God wired us that way to be with our families, right? And the Lord started this passion in my heart during college when I studied social work. And then I went on to get my master's in social work and was really unsure what I was going to do with that. But after that, the Lord called me into full-time ministry, which left me more confused. I was like, okay, God, what are you doing here? But then my dream really became running social services through the church, because I really just felt like the church is where so much of that should be taking place. And so for a long time, I had no idea what that looks like. But now here we are. And it's so cool how like the Lord puts things together and makes everything kind of like make sense in his own time. But I love so many things about MVM, but I love that it is calling the church to be more than bystanders or just talkers. Participating in MVM calls people to actually put their faith into action and stand in the gap for these families who are in crisis. And so I'm so excited to live that out personally as a host family, but to also lead others in our church and our partner churches to do that as well. So those are some of the things that I love about MVM, and I'm just so pumped to be a part of this ministry. So our next person is Taylor. Taylor is gonna go now, and she's gonna share a little bit with us.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm the Director of Communication Relations here at My Village Ministries. So I basically just refer agencies to refer families to us that are in need within the community. I wanted to join this ministry because I'm also studying social work at Mount Vernon Nazarene University, and I'm a senior. I'm gonna get my license to be an official social worker, which I'm excited about. And I wanted to combine social work and the church, just like Maddie said. I didn't know what that was gonna look like at all, but I went to the training that was first hosted at Heart City, and it was like 8 hours long, and I didn't know how I was gonna get through it. But I eventually was like, oh, I want to be a part of this, but I didn't know how. And then I reached out to Maddie and Jake, and they just involved me, and I love them for that. But I want to help kids and families stay together, because I also intern at Children's Services here in Knox County, and I've seen children get separated from their families, and they have told me that they want to go back to their family even though they're getting abused. And that's what I want to do here at My Village Ministries, just help families stay together.
I love it. So good. Thanks for sharing, Tay. We are so grateful to have you as a part of this team and everything you bring. So thank you so much. All right. Next up, we are going to have the one and only Jake Boer share about why he's involved with this.
Hey y'all, Jake here. I am the husband to Maddie Boer, and that's my most important title. But on top of that, I am the Director of Church Relations for My Village Ministries Mansfield. And as you've kind of probably picked up on the gist, but we are strongly interconnected and tied in with the church. And actually, something that makes this ministry so unique is that our volunteer base is 100% derived from local churches. We believe that it's the church's responsibility to step in and provide support for families, not just spiritually, which we've kind of grown accustomed to doing, is just taking care of the spiritual needs of people. But we believe that biblically we are called to provide for the emotional, for the physical, and the spiritual needs. In fact, history shows that before the government stepped in and started providing all of these support programs, before the foster care system became a thing, before welfare was a thing, and all of the government assistance, it was the church that was taking care of people. And when the government started stepping up, the church took a step back, and they kind of loosened their responsibility towards people and loving them in a tangible way. But we believe in reclaiming that, as Kenzie said, resurrecting biblical hospitality, resurrecting the church's position in the lives of people and supporting them. In fact, in the Bible, in James chapter 1, verse 27, it says, religion that God our Father finds acceptable and pure is this: to take care of the widow and the orphan in their distress, and to keep ourselves unpolluted from the world. And so it's our biblical mandate to take care of widows and orphans, and the best way to take care of orphans is to support their families before they become orphans. And so we're stepping in as the church and doing that. And so my responsibility is building relationships with churches in the area, letting them know what our mission is, getting them on board, and getting them to rally along that mission so that they can be providing support in their local context, and they can be another facet of what we're doing here in Richland County. And Maddie kind of shared our story a little bit. I, to be honest with you, didn't really know anything about foster care or any of that stuff before I met her. And then she opened my eyes to what even is a social worker and what is all of this stuff. And so I really learned a lot from her. She went on to get her master's degree in social work, and she served in various ways in the school systems as a social worker with a couple different child service, like children's service agencies and stuff like that. And she opened my eyes to truly how many gaps there are in the system. The government is doing the very best they can, and they're providing an excellent service, and they're doing great things. But the numbers don't lie. There's just not enough people working towards this goal, and there's not enough money. And so we're stepping in as the church to fill that need. And so as Maddie kind of opened my eyes to that, the Lord called us to adopt our kids from the foster care system. And as she said, we love these kids, and we still, they've been with us for over 2 years, and we still sometimes just have to hold them in our arms as they're crying, saying they wish they could go back to their birth parents, even though they know that their birth parents weren't safe. And that's always going to be the case, because God created us to be with our birth parents. That's the way that God created things. And unfortunately, because of sin in the world, it doesn't always end up that way. But if there's anything that we can do about it, we should be trying to keep kids with their birth families, because that is the way God intended for it. And so I'm lit up about this. And I'm just excited to be a part of a ministry that allows us to physically live out what God has called us to do. As a pastor, I believe that it's important to be able to take something that's intangible and find a way to make it tangible. So Scripture tells us to do it, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to do it. I'm going to stop rambling. That's a little about me.
Thanks, babe. Where would we be without you? Everyone needs a booer on their team. Yeah, I love it. So thank you all so much for sharing. Don't I have the best team? This is the best team, guys. I'm telling you, this is it right here. But there's so much good stuff happening here. Something else, though, that is unique about this ministry, about MVM, is that each staff member raises at least 50% of their own funds, similar to missionaries raising their money to go on the mission field, whatever they're called. We are being called to the mission field of underserved and undersupported families of Richland County, Ohio. And so we are raising our funds to be able to live that out. So the benefit of staff salaries operating like this is that it allows the organization to operate on a lower budget while still fulfilling its mission. It also allows individuals like you all and others to really be an integral part of this ministry that we're doing. It really does take a whole village to do this meaningful hard work. So you are each invited here because you're a significant person in the life of one of our staff members. And so I want to invite you into this ministry of keeping families together with us. So if you're feeling called to support us and be involved as we venture further into this ministry and all that is to come, I'm going to share a few ways that you guys can do that. First and foremost, we would love your prayers. Because we have already seen the enemy trying to work against us in our mission as we have worked so hard to launch this. And we believe that prayer is powerful and that it really does change things. So that's the first thing. You can commit to praying for us, and more importantly, praying for the families that we are going to be serving. That would be so incredibly meaningful to us. Another way that you can support us is if you are local, which I know many of you are not, but if you are, or anyone who ends up watching this recording, if you are local, please join us in this mission, because we can always use more hands and hearts that are ready to like do the thing, do the serving. We're so excited to do it, but it really does. I'm just speaking from like foster care, adoption side of things, but it really does get heavy and hard, and we need the support of the people around us. So, and then the final way you can support us is financially. Let me tell you what, I have seen each of these staff members, each of these people on here working day in and day out in the midst of other jobs, of schoolwork, of life situations, because they believe that it's where God has called them. And where God calls, he also provides. And I believe that some of you here might be the answer to some of that provision. So if after listening to all of this and praying, you feel led to give in a financial way, we would also be so grateful for that. Each staff member, as I said earlier, is raising their own funds, as well as we're working to raise funds for our chapter as a whole. So it can be kind of a daunting mission here at the beginning. If you've ever launched an organization or started something, you know that that's a lot of work on the front end, but we believe that it is worth it. So anyways, we have a link where you can easily give to whoever invited you to this call. So I would ask that you would specifically consider being a monthly partner. So this is where you set up recurring giving in the amount that you feel led and able to give. And this could be truly, you guys, this could be $5 a month, $10 a month. It could be $100 a month if that's what you feel able and led to give. It could be $1,000 a month. We won't stop you. But truly anything is such a gift, and we're so grateful for that. If you feel led to give, if you feel unable to give in a recurring way, but you still would like to donate financially, you can give a one-time gift of any amount as well. So that would be awesome. And the recurring giving it's so huge for us because it really allows our staff to know that they're going to have a certain amount of money coming in each month as they're working to raise their funds. So after this call, the person who invited you is going to send you a follow-up message with kind of a written out version of these different ways that you can support us and the links to give if that is something that you want to do. I would just ask that if you decide to support someone in any way at all, that whether it be prayer, physically supporting, financially supporting, that you would just let them know. And this is why. It is so empowering to know that there are people behind you supporting you in whatever way that might be, especially when you're doing really hard, heavy kingdom work. In the world of foster care, we talk about doing foster care is not just having kids placed in your home, but it's being the army of people wrapped around the foster parents, supporting them, helping them, giving meals, giving money, giving words of encouragement, giving prayer. All of that is part of doing foster care. So likewise, part of doing My Village Ministries is not just sitting in the staff positions like we are, but it is supporting and loving on the people who need it. So thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for believing in us and what God is doing in our community. We are going to open it up here for some questions if anyone has those. But if you want to talk further about this with any one of us, we would be super happy to do that afterwards. So please don't hesitate, and we'll definitely keep you guys updated as the ministry gets going and things start happening. We're excited to share those updates. So we've got a couple minutes left here before our free Zoom runs out. So if anyone has any questions, you can either pop them in the chat feature here, and we will answer those, or you are welcome to unmute yourself by pressing the little red microphone and just talking. So I'll just give it a second to see if anyone has any questions.
I guess I Really enjoyed that. Thanks, guys. I'm just curious. So I know, Maddie, you said you guys are a host family. How many other like host families have you been able to line up? I think
Yeah.
I actually just asked your mom's question too.
Perfect. So that is, let me see what hers is. Have been trained. Yes. So we are working on, our church has some host families. We've done, what have we done, guys? 2 trainings so far. We've done 2 trainings, which is like the necessary step you have to go through to become a host family. And then you have to do a bunch of paperwork and stuff, just like you would for foster care, right? To do our checks and balances. And so right now I'd say we have, 4 or 5, I think. And then we're about to do a training this Saturday and get a handful more. And then a new church in the area actually just decided to partner with us. And so in February, we are getting ready to add more on. And so it's kind of a thing where we will be continually training and adding new host families and new churches as we go. And as we do that, we're going to be able to accept more and more kids who are referred from the local agency. So we're going to start with what we have, and we're just going to keep growing and building. But I think hopefully that answers the question. Does anyone have any others? Okay. My mom says, does your organization provide funds to host families, or do they carry the burden? That's actually an excellent question. So, through MVM, we provide resources, and we really ask the churches would step up, the people who are not hosting, that they would help, bring meals, buy clothes, buy diapers, and bring those kinds of things to the families who are willing to say, I can host, because we all have different capabilities, right? Some people can host, and some people are like, that's not the place in life that I'm in, but I can bring hot meals. I can give you a DoorDash gift card. I can bring diapers or clothes or whatever that might be. And so we work primarily through, as an organization, through our partner churches to call them to action to do this ministry as well, and support the people who are hosting.
And if you've ever been a part of a good church, you know that churches are excellent at providing that kind of support. We've received lots of casseroles in our day from lovely church ladies trying to provide support to a young married pastoral couple. And we enable those lovely church ladies to provide for those families in need.
Amen. Terry is going to be a community coach for us. She's so excited. We're so excited to have her. She's here with us tonight. She says, how many hours weekly do you help? Yeah, so we have community coaches that we also train as part of our organization, all volunteer, you guys. Everyone is volunteer through churches besides for the staff members, which is incredible. It's just people at churches saying, hey, I'm willing, I want to serve. And so our community coaches are kind of like our social workers who are working with the referring parent to help get them connected with any resources they need. And they're also the liaison between the referring parent, the bio parent, and the host family, and kind of helping that relationship be built. So that's a very cool role. And how many hours? So the kids, you as a community coach, you'll meet with the kids at least once a week. And then any extra times you're meeting with the referring parents to help them find jobs, get resources, all that kind of cool stuff. So another question, are donations payable to My Village Ministries, and is it a 501c3? Yes. So it will be directly to My Village Ministries, and My Village Ministries pays out. They'll disperse that as it needs to be dispersed, and it is a 501c3. Yes. Any other questions? We've got a couple minutes here, I think, before we get kicked off. Oh, Jake has a cat coming into his screen. We love to see it. All right. Okay. Anything else? All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Truly, it means so much to us. If you have more questions, like I said, seriously, reach out to any of us. We would love to chat with you about it. But it means so much that you would even come listen, and it makes us feel so like loved and supported just that you would show up. So thank you so much. And like I said, we will keep you updated of what is to come. All right, you guys, have a very, very good night, and we will talk to you later.